Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I try to answer all your comments and everything down there and read through all of them. That's one of the things I enjoy. I had Judy who was asking me, can I do a more casual rose with some lilacs, like that, similar to one of the ones that I sent out on the what we call it through our community group. Posted. So I said, sure, I can do that. So let's do one of those today. So I have a board here. It's an 18 by 12. And it's just a board, and what I did was I gave it a coat with a sponge, just a big old sponge, and put on some of the canvas prep medium that we have in the line, in the Heritage line. And what that is basically is it has a little bit of sealer, some texturizing medium into it, and so it's made for like filling up the grain and stuff of a canvas and everything, but it does give me a little bit of texture, which makes it kind of fun to paint on when you're going to do casual techniques. So I just gave it one coat of that, lightly sanded it, and off we go. To our colors, same colors. This is like my daughter always says, this is my YouTube palette. This is the Hansa yellow, dark light yellow, yellow oxide, naphtha red light, the burnt sienna, pine green, phthalo blue, quinacridone violet, red violet. This I've added out to it today because I'm going to use this into the background. It's just the medium white. It's the Heritage medium white color. It's just white with a little black and a little bit of yellow oxide. And then some white. This is the Daravan open medium that I like to use when I'm going to do all the Prima. And then I have a dirty cap here of the extender medium, which is thin. I use the extender medium to thin things out to put on my initial color, and then I use the open medium, which is thicker and a little bit sticky, to do the actual alla prima painting, because a lot of what I do deals with the consistencies of the paint. So if you're using really thin flow acrylics and stuff, these techniques don't work with it. Thicker acrylics, artist quality acrylics is what you really need to use. But let's get at it. So I'm going to start out kind of thin, and I'm just going to take some dirty extender here, and my medium white, thin this out. I want it nice and thin, like an inky consistency here of paint, and I'm going to put this right over. I might leave some of the white background here kind of showing through, but I want a thin coat of this. This will allow me to work some of my colors into it. It'll allow me to, so I can work a wet on wet edge. It'll allow me to add some softness to the flowers and stuff as I work it. And, a lot of times I really enjoy what is called the vignetted paintings, which you leave a little bit of like your backgrounds and stuff like that showing through. That's what we call them, vignettes. And I love that look, and so do a lot of my customers and family and stuff. So something that I tend to go to. So I leave a little bit of some of that out there. You might want to even it out a bit with paper towel. That's what I like to do, and just pull through. If I'm going to paint a lot in a certain area, with different colors, you see me use different techniques. I take the paper towel and I can back out some areas, like where I'm going to do a rose or something like that, one or two little roses, and we'll do some lilacs and stuff out over here. Okay, now along that line, I'm going to start adding immediately what I like to do if I'm doing a wet on wet and a casual type of technique here. I like to add some of that real darks in at the same time. So I'm thinking about it more like the Heritage rose that's white with some of the nice deep beautiful reds or pinks onto the inside, some lilacs, some blue and violet lilacs or stuff like that. So some of your greens and some of the colors that I like to add to the back will work really nice here. My pine greens, you could use a blue green that will go really well with the lilacs too. I'll start out here with just some pine green and some burnt sienna, and I'll thin it just a bit here. And let's just pull down. Now see, this gives you, and see, you can work through that. You lift the pressure on your brush, and we're just going to deposit some heavier color right in through here. And then we'll lift the pressure on our brush as we come out. And so when you first put this on, you got to kind of get a little bit brave. We're going to put some color on here. This is going to be a shadow that's going to, recede in this area. And we're going to want some colors, some different colors to come out. So let's get some greens and stuff in through here and pull those out. And let's get some of our, we're going to have an area of our back part of our rose, which we want this deep red. So I'm going to take some quinacridone, some red. I want it a little thicker, so I'm going to keep open medium in it. And let's give an area right in here that this rose will come into, boom, right into there. And, you know, maybe we'll splash some of that red color back out into another area. This is a real, it's a real impressionistic style that is very, very popular right now, and it's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to paint. I'm going to take a little more quinacridone, splash that around. And when I paint real loose like this, I don't always hold my brush like a pencil. Many times I take the long handle brush and I hold it back. You hold the long handle brush back because that keeps the tip of the brush soft, and that allows you to do a lot of these real softening techniques. But I also like to be really casual with it, so I like to get different types of edges out here, which is the more impressionistic look. So I'll hold the brush flat like I do on landscapes. You see me do this in landscapes a lot and stuff. So I'll hold some of that out there a little further like that. And that allows me to get some really unique looks to it. I want to keep more of the quinacridone, which would be into the throat of the rose, maybe a little down here at the bottom. And we could, we could go really impressionistic and pull some of this down like this. I love what I call the drippy look to a painting that pulls down like this and gets this drippy look, and I'll pull out a bit like this, use that paper towel. It just puts in some really soft, impressionistic types of looks, and it's fun just to print. You know, I've used cheesecloth, terry cloth, old flannel shirts, you know, that are no good anymore, and got all different kinds of looks and edges to them. You know, I do like my paper towel. It just does a lot of stuff for me here. But and you can just experiment, and this is what makes the painting so fun. I mean, it really is a lot of fun. Sometimes I like it just like that. I think, man, we should just drop a frame into that and call it impressionistic roses, you know. But when I'm gonna open this rose up a bit, so I want to put it at slight an angle. I'll drop some of this color down because we just think that's going to look neat here today. So we'll just drop some of that down, and you know, think of an impressionism that the color's moving down. So in impressionism, you would, you know, we're going to give we do what is called a representational impressionistic type of look. And what that is you're going to be able to recognize this as a rose, definitely here, but then some of this might be roses back behind. So we're just kind of put it in there kind of blurry, okay? Now, let's get some of our nice lilac colors in there, which are going to be some quinacridone, a tiny bit of the blue. I got a bit much of the blue in there. Just going to get these violets to blue violets in here. Those are pretty colors that we can work right in here. That might be some of our lilacs out here. Let's put a few of those little lilac colors out here. Maybe a touch of them right down through here. Just let them just kind of go through. Let's push and see that wet medium white. This softens it. The medium white is a good color to use with the lilac color because they're almost complements. So they settle down and they're really nice together like that. Kind of looks like you know what you're doing. But you know, that's the fun thing about this, guys, is you just kind of play with that a little bit, okay? You just kind of play the colors and push them around. Painting should be fun, and this is really fun. This is really great, okay? It's just a little bit of paint in the board is what I tell my students. Now, I've got a line of that coming down through here. It's not moving to the left quite enough, so I might want to push a bit of that violet over here. May not do anything with it other than just push some of that out like that and drop that down and just leave it like that. That might be enough. You know, you might want to, sometimes I use my finger to soften some of that. But so now that color moves through. You could also use that color into your rose somewhere here or collide that up in there. Let's get a bit more of our violets, maybe blue violets and stuff, and put some contrasting. And I'm just going to use, when I use a big brush, this is my 3/4 inch brush. And I love to paint impressionism with my 3/4 inch because I just roll the brush and use different edges. Sometimes push it, touch it, and it creates all different kinds of little marks out here like this. Very, very soft and uncontrollable sometimes. You just push that around. Now you want to use a little bit of restraint. You don't want to do so much that you know, you have no room for anything else, you know. Always want to leave a softer edge. So I'm going to push some color in here and let it expand out to a softer, what we call the lost edge. So these will be the what we call the found edge. And then the other side over here will be the lost edge, okay? All right. So we have that in there. Now, I'm going to set up the front part of my rose, and let's just get this out of here. I love these paint scrapers too. You know, you can go to the store and your home store and get these little paint scrapers, you know, for a couple of bucks, and those work really well for scraping and depositing and opening up different types of colors. And you can come in there and soften their look, but they apply the paint really well as well. You'll see me in all kinds of videos using those paints, you know, the paint scrapers and stuff like that. Like I might take that paint scraper with a little bit of that violet, a little bit of this white and some of that violet and stuff, and just scrape it right down here like this and let some of that deposit right out here into the background, right up, and you know, look for it to hit the edge of the rose and stuff. That's the impressionistic edge there that pushes up into, and so you get some of that nice thick color and all that kind of stuff in there. You kind of have fun with it and play around there with it a little bit. It's wonderful. Let's push this back just a bit. See, I like that light going right in there, right into that edge of the rose there. Now let's build up. We'll take some medium white. If I use medium white in the first part of my rose, if I'm going to do a white to a red rose or something like that, if I use that medium white, that's a good thing because then that anchors the rose to the background. And that's one of the things, you know, sometimes you know, you paint these flowers and stuff and they don't look like they're part of the background. They do what we call float off of the surface. And so you get that because you have unrelated colors and stuff between the flower and the background. And so what I'll do is I'll take some of that medium white and put it up into there. Now that anchors this rose right up into the background there. And it works really, really well. Just put some of that nice big color in there. Now I'm going to go down to that was my 3/4 inch brush. I'm going to go to like my 8 or a 10, you know, brush here. This is my 10. And I'm just going to use a lighter pink here. And so I put some heavier color there. And I'm just going to come in here and kind of, you know, figure out the front petals here of the rose. So my center is going to be right here. Those of you who watch a lot of my rose videos, my center will be there. I might even drop it or open this up a bit more. Let's take a little bit of both our violets and push down, lift up into that white. See, I pick up that white, so I have to get that off and open this one up just a bit more. And if you're going to do that, you want to keep some nice kind of rounding movements to the rose here up into the front, okay? All right. So let's go back up here and build a little bit. So we'll build the front of the rose up. This will be the front of the rose right in here. Okay, I'm going to step back on my handle of my brush and start to do this really casual. I'm going to push. That's going to be right in there is going to be the bottom part of the bowl of my rose here. Okay, I'll step right out here and we'll do the impressionistic part of the outside petals here of this rose. Maybe pull in, lift off the pressure as you pull in. I love to go through some of that violet and pick that up into the petal of the rose here. That'll make it pretty. So I constantly reload, and I'm using thicker paint now. So if I touch any medium to help me here, I use the open medium with it here. So this, it stays wet, and let's let some of that dark come in here. push that in to, to just join up that, or into that side of the rose there. Now on this other side over here, let's take some of our reds, and we're going to let this side of the rose over here just kind of disappear a bit. That's going to get the, or make it really the impressionistic side of it here. As a matter of fact, we may small down. That looks a little big. I don't like painting roses bigger than my fist, so that's a bit big, which happens sometimes, but like I like to say in all the other videos, don't worry, I'm a professional. I can fix this, and I do. It's easy. It's just paint and brush. Let's take some of this lilac color, and I'll just show you. Just back it back out. It's one of the nice things about painting an impressionistic edge here. See, I'll just back that all back out just like that. Now you got all that going on. It looks like lilacs and roses there. Almost looks finished. It could be. And we'll come in and we'll push that outside petal a little smaller here, a little closer here, and just drop it in that way there. See, and that's a pretty one. So, and if I push down like that, I deposit that light to the outside. Now my brush moves this way, which is helping it round into the bowl of the rose. So my bowl of my rose is right here. Do you see that? That's the bowl of the rose. So every petal that I reach out here to touch and push in, I'm going to make it look like it's going to come right down into the bowl of my rose, right where my stem is going to come in, right in there. And let's just be impressionistic here. We'll tap in maybe a little bit of this light, just a dirty brush here, a little bit of light right on the edge. Let's go a little bit more. If I use that petal edging technique that I show you guys on so many of those rose videos, I can draw a little petal there if I want to put in some very structured movement to that one. Let's come down here. Let's leave maybe a light edge right here, a little bit of light on the edge of that rose. We're going to let this side really compress down. As a matter of fact, let's do something fun. Let's just blur this up a bit more and pull this down. Here, let's go more impressionistic. Kind of like, and just lose that edge out there. Lose that right into that one there, okay? Let's take some of this dark red violet and really push that nice contrast right down there into the center of that rose. Maybe a splash of red. See, I love to just play the colors and try some things, and like I say, it's only a little bit of paint in a board, so I push and try different things, get different looks, and and try to find popular looks. That's what we do. We're artists. We explore all different kinds of things, right? Let's come in and let's put in a lighter petal right here. So I pick up more thick paint. I want to put it right on the tip of the brush here, and I want to keep the tip kind of light, but I just want to drag it so it deposits the paint and pull it in so it goes to that bowl. That's what I want right there, like that. So now I got that petal, and you can breathe. You get that petal on there. Let's pull out a bit here, pull out a bigger petal, and then we're going to let this kind of fade out right over there like that. Just let the color run out of your brush there. Let's put maybe a bit more of an edge right here so it's a little bit thicker. I like that texture of the paint here, and just let that just kind of run there. Let's build a bit more here right up into the front. And usually when I paint like really impressionistic kind of roses, of course it looks like I'm putting on petals there, but more than anything else, I paint the movement. The movement, what I mean is right here's the rounding of the bowl. So if I start my brush here to come down the center, as I come this way, I'll round it, my brush rounds up towards the bowl. That is so important, guys. That is so important. That's what keeps the, the flower round. Let's take just a bit of that shadow and just lift off some of that right into that where that shadow is right down there. And that looks pretty good. You can take the edge, just an edge of that white here, and kind of draw around to put a little bit of that on that edge there to build up that light, even lighter if you want, or pick up some more paint, heavier. Now, after a while, you start to build up so much paint and it really becomes difficult to paint it, to get more paint to lay off into it. It'll start to disappear a little bit because you got so much paint. And that's the beauty of acrylics. What I do is I'll move out, I'm going to build it a little bit here, more here, and then I'm going to move out and paint some lilacs and stuff like that for a little bit while that rose tacks up and tightens up just a bit. And then it becomes really easy to put on more paint. Sometimes, it depends on how thick of the paint I'm using. Sometimes I'll have to wait, a couple hours for the rose to tighten up a bit. Now I'm just going to add a few, I'm just kind of drawing, circling around and stuff in here into the center. And I'll pick up a little edge or a little corner of that light. And I can use that to kind of draw the ideas of little petals and stuff here, but I just want to give the impressions of them. I don't want to make anything, absolutely perfect, because I want to keep this whole painting very impressionistic. Let's push that out to get rid of that little edge there. Keep this very soft here. So I like that. Let's just drop this down here. Let's give the idea of a petal out here. Just the edge of it before it's kind of fading into the side there, okay? So that's pretty good. If I need to, I can take some of my reds and stuff and redefine the bottom of my bowl here, just to get some of that movement in there. I like movement like that. I don't like it to be super smooth. Let's just leave that movement like that for just a bit, okay? And let's go out, now let's add a touch more blue to our lilacs and stuff here. We'll add some open medium here. Let's get some of this blue, lighter kind of blue out here as well, because that's a pretty color. And what I'm going to do is just pounce the brush here a bit, giving some movement of like these. I'm not painting the flowers as much as giving some movement. So as I run out of paint, I'll go out here to the background and just give a little bit more movement there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just loosen up the movement of the lilacs here. And you can have more violets, you can have more blues, but I do want to have some lost edges. So I want this to lose the edges right down here. Let's get a bit more of the blue right in here. So a bit of that. And I've painted them all different kinds. I like the blues to the lights, the whites and stuff. And let's just trail a little bit of this down. Sometimes I like to paint them so they come out, then they go back, and then they come back out. It's like they're undulating. So I might just do a few more blue ones right down here. And where you see a lot of the blue, that's where I'll build the flowers here. So that's pretty good. And that's kind of pretty out there. And, you look to carry that color across. And again, it's not carrying very well out over here. So maybe I'll just, that's a little dark, take a little lighter blue and just push a few ideas over here. Maybe push it right in. See that background's nice and wet. I'll just push that around. Doesn't need any more than that. It just needs to carry the color over there, see? That's all it needs, is to carry that color there. And it's a nice bright painting, isn't it? Yeah, it's a nice, after painting all of these, that's like animal portraits and stuff like that I've been doing with all the jibber jabber with all that tan color and stuff. Man, it's nice to get into some bright color here too. I haven't lost my mind. We're just painting a little bright. Let's go a little lighter. As we go lighter, we go smaller. We'll put in a bit of detail here. Just a bit of the... I always like to put in just a couple of petals and then just kind of lose the edge, lose the rest of that. So we'll just... So I carry most of that light right on the edge. And I'll just do a few ideas of it. here. Just little, what I call little sparks of color out here. Sometimes I'll do a slightly, just a lighter one, just almost a white one out there in between here. But I move fast. It's kind of like I envision a little, 5 petal or so, little lilac flower here. And that one wasn't, not too great on that one, so we'll do that one again. Step back on my brush a bit. A little too casual there, Dave. We'll come back in. But it's a lot of fun to paint. I just love to paint. Sometimes it really looks like you know what you're doing, and then other days you can't paint yourself out of a paper bag. That's just art. That's the beautiful thing of art. When it's right, man, and it's working, oh, it's such a good feeling. And then there are other times that it doesn't work. So here's some, see, I like that. And it's a little more lighter than what's going on there, which advances it a bit. Now I've got to knock this down. It's got to tone down. So I'm going to go back to a little more blue and let the color run off my brush as I build a few here. Step up and lighten the pressure and just give the impression. See, that's all you need. You don't need to go out here and make perfect little lilacs, because the viewer will see it all as little lilacs, because they see the 5 petals or 4 petals up here in the front. And then let's just go back to a blue that we'd find like right in here and add a 1 or 2 out here, so it's not as light as one of the other ones, but you'll still pick up a little bit of that here, a little bit of that color. So it makes kind of a pretty little bit of it. Let's take a touch of that blue and the light here, and let's just come over here and just add right through our impressionistic side here, just a few hits of it. See here, just like that. That's gonna work pretty well right there. Now I'm going to rinse that color out of my brush for a second. Whenever I rinse water and I'm painting all a primer like this to keep it wet, I put extender back into my brush. That keeps anytime you put water into your brush, that's the fast drying part of the paint. So, of the, what we're doing here. So I put extender back in to get rid of that. So my brush, so everything stays wet. And see, everything in here is still wet. So that's what we want to do. Let's go with some pine green and some yellow. We could go a brighter Hansa here as well if we want to brighten that up a bit. But let's make some smaller rose leaves maybe, and some different colored leaves. Now I don't want to cover all of that nice movement up there, so just a bit, maybe a little bit of that burnt sienna there. Let's thin this out. So I go out into the background here. I'm going to add even a little bit of that burnt sienna. Thin this out. And I'm going to thin it out so the color is not very powerful. So as I come out here, it'll work right into that medium white and give me the soft look out there. So, whenever you're painting a composition, and I did it for years, always made my leaves the same value, the same color. And, you've got lights and darks working through your flowers. You should have lights and darks and transparencies and opacities working through your leaves at the same time. So, we want different looks coming through everything here. So let's just paint a few little lost and found edges there. And just leave some of that just sitting out there. Maybe I like burnt sienna and pine green as like a little shadow. I like to do that. Push that around. You'll find as you paint, as you play with colors like this, you'll find things that you like to do. Looks that you like, and you paint the looks that you like, and then you start to expand out and try to find other ones. That's what artists do. Let's just blur that together so it goes right into the red and the green here, right in together, so you don't know which one is which there. Let's come over here and make just a little lighter green, and maybe a a stroke or two right out here of slightly lighter yellow green, Hansa and pine green, and a little light here. Let's take I like to do little chisel edge of a vein line, be just a point of it, because that just gives you, see, it's like a little spark of color, a little line, and it's a little line of movement. So here, by touching this right out here like this and pulling out, it causes your eye to, to move out and stuff, and I like that there. It's pulling out of that center. Sometimes I'll do very impressionistic, lighter, little yellow-green touches out through here. Just a little sparks of color. Here, let's just take a bit of that right out here, a bit more. Here, spark that through. That's kind of pretty. So I like some of that dropping down. I want to get some of this green. Let's take a little open medium, a little bit of our extender there, and just work some of these others. Now you can touch a few. If you feel that your lilacs get a little heavy, just touch some of the greens up through them. And as I go further out, I'm going to thin it out here. Let's go with a little brighter green, but I'll thin it out here and just blur in some of this green back there. I always call it the blurry, kind of just touch these colors out. You just want the movement of color out here. Just the color, just to pull that viewer's eye with color out. Let's pull down a bit, push that in. Right there, that's kind of nice. Sometimes, I'll reach out. Let's reach out and maybe even right out through here, I'll draw stems and stuff a little further out and a little different than what you might think coming through. We can have a few coming through here for like the lilacs and stuff, but a few coming out over there is not too bad. And, some thin. Anytime I work to the outside, I like my colors a little thinner. Let's just put on a idea shape here of some leaves or something right out here. Some movement. Some of our greens and movements out here like that. That's kind of fun. You can, put them in there more specific. I like to just do the very much impressionistic. I like that a little bit. I think I'm going to, no, I'm just going to leave this green in my brush here like this for a minute. Come right back up here by my pinks and stuff. And I'm going to incorporate a little bit of that green and pink together. I love that tone into a rose. See, it gives a nice, it grays it back and gives a different kind of tone in there. Anchors it to some of the green that I'm showing in the painting here. I don't always do it, but it is a fun one, so it's like if you watch the 30 Days of Roses, I think on the 30 Days of Roses I did it maybe twice. So I don't always do it, but it's something that it's one of the little tools that we put up here in our toolbox, and we bring it out when we want to add a little bit more to the painting, Okay, so that's working pretty well. We can take a bit of our Hansa and maybe our yellow oxide, kind of model those together. We don't have to do anything perfect. Lilacs, you don't even have to have centers, but I do this because then the viewer doesn't know if they're lilacs or just little flowers. You don't have to worry about it. But I just think it just adds little sparks. Sometimes I'll use, if I want more of a spark to the flower, I'll use a tiny bit of white into that. And it just... But I'm a good artist of color, and so if I put that yellow out there like that, and it's not really isolated, it's all by itself because you see the yellow into the background. But sometimes when I do something like that, I do like to just kind of go through a couple of areas and hit a little bit of yellow. It's just kind of like the little spark of the yellow through. I'm always thinking all the time, and it's a good thing for you to always think all the time, move color. if you use a color on an object, move it. Okay, so you express it and move it through the painting a bit, and then your paintings have greater harmony. See, so now you pick up that little bit of yellow, see, and then here's a little spark of it right through here. It just adds a beauty to the painting there. So you pick up just little indications of that, and that's pretty neat. It works really well. Let's go back. Let's just take that lighter pinky kind of color here, and let's just pull that into this petal a bit, since we got that green in there, and we'll just blur those together. I don't blend it. What I'm doing is blurring the edges of it. Let's maybe just put a edge there. We don't need that much on this. I want it to kind of fade out over there. Now, I want to build the rose a bit more. So I want to go more thicker white. We'll come right in here with a thicker white. I love to carry some of this dirty color in there, though. I don't like to just use white. I like everything dirty. Now this should be, it's still wet. Okay, it's still wet, but it's starting to tack up. So I can lay some heavier color in here and build a little bit more to my rose. Let's put a bit out here. A little bit further out. Got to be careful. I'll get my rose too big again. So I've got to use a little restraint here. Let's just, there we go. I like that softer edge here. And we'll touch that nice dirty. Let's build that again. Nice textures here. Boom. Right like that. Get that nice texture in there. Let's, little bit of dirty green and reds here, and that is a little stiff right in there, so I'm just going to back it out with a pink just this way, and I'll start looking from my shadow or my mid-tone, half-tone out, lift off some of that extra white that's there like that, and establish that light. I can soften it by pulling the light now back into that, or watching that edge, but it builds a nice little rose there. Now let's go lighter. You can see the difference here. This is now white, and that's down about in value 9. And let's just put a little, quick little strokes of the white. Let's pinch wipe our brush, pick it up back into the pink, and pull through that just a touch so we don't get this side too light. We want this side to just be the impressionistic side here. Okay, so let's build. And you know, if you get, what generally happens, and it happened to me for many years, okay, is I start building the white and I start liking it, and you start thinking, oh, a little bit of white's great, let's get more. And then all of a sudden your flower is flat and it's all too white. If that happens, you just start painting with your halftones and your darks. Start coming from the halftones and the darks to the other side. And normally I'd show you, but I really like that rose right now, so I don't want to screw it up. So I'm just going to put an extra little petal maybe right in there. Notice how I picked up just a little bead of texture? Okay, so what you can do is pick up some nice thick white, pick up a little bead of it, and use that to draw anywhere that you want to draw to bring that petal right up into the front there, like that. Just and it'll do that. Let's put a, not quite that light, but let's get a little pink, put a bit of the white here into that, and put a maybe a more of a closed up edge over here. I'll push that into position a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to draw the edge. Now it didn't work out quite as well as I wanted, so I'm going to draw the edge a little bit more. Okay. And I want to sink that down into the rose a little bit more, so I'm going to put a little bit of my shadow into my rose and paint. Start right from where the bowl would be and paint up and out into this petal a bit, and that'll bring the two together, see? And it starts to look like you know what you're doing. Maybe a bit more light right out in through here, a bit of that movement right out through there like that. That's kind of pretty. Thing is, don't get too much structure here, Dave. Just leave some of it. I want that side of the rose to be kind of structured. The rest of it to be kind of soft. Here, everywhere else a little softer. Let's just pull this down just a touch there. So we get just a bit of that. So if I just take a little textured white and just pull a bit, I can give some more movement to that particular petal. Maybe an edge right here of a petal. Just the idea of it. That's all I really want to do on that side there. I can take let's take a little open mediums. This stays some of that lighter little pink. Just a few little whispers, like this petal. It is just melting down there into the back there. Helps carry that color, that lighter pink. Maybe a little touch of the lighter pink out over there. See how the eye travels over there? A little touch of that lighter pink here. Just moving it right back. See, I always look to move that color out and around. Just right up there into your background. Makes it look like you know what you're doing there. And most of my greens have kind of dried down a bit. And, you know, I step back and I look at it overall. Yeah, that's pretty nice. But maybe I want to have just a bang, a little bit lighter green. You could have a blue green, like I said. Matter of fact, don't let me forget. I'll touch blue green after this. And we'll just put a bit of the lighter, warmer yellow green, just a touch here and there, just to brighten up that. See, and that just brings that green out a bit. Now, let's go over to the blue-green, just a touch. A little bit of phthalo blue right into that. Blue-greens are nice because they just add the coolness to it. And I tend to hit them onto like the shadow side of something here. So let's get just a touch more of that blue-green. Okay, so we'll just touch a bit of that. See, look at that cool blue-green, how it picks up that other color. Boy, that makes it look like you know what you're doing. There we go. Let's just add a little bit. I just like the color, you know, the working of the color of that. That works pretty well. Let's get the idea of another kind of stem. I like stems and movements of those. Some of that bluish green down here. Just some of the color right in there. That works pretty well. And you know, if I want to bring up and I look, see, I'm looking at that camera there, and that's what you got to do. You got to get up about 6-8 feet away. That camera today, camera one, is about 8 feet away, and take a look at it and see what it looks like. You know, if this starts to look lonely at all, we don't need to paint any other kind of rose. We just need to, you know, increase some of that color back through there. So we could, you know, increase some of that pink. The idea of the pink, that's what an impressionist would do. If you don't like it, don't do it. But you just increase that color, that pink out here, just a bit here. And that's pretty good. Use that paper towel to incorporate those colors stuff, and it makes it really kind of pretty. Let's build out this petal a bit more. Little texture. It just gives a little more interest to it. Maybe this little edge right here, a little texture here. Boom. Right there. And I think that works. It's kind of fun. So, you know, I start out with a loose color onto the background, and then you start building into it, and then what happens as this starts to tack up and stuff, you start getting thicker paint right in there where you want that to go. Lilacs are really easy to paint if you don't paint it too much. Start out with with just a base and just kind of blur it out into the background. You're just looking for that beautiful movement. And then start, a different color, isolate some blues and stuff, and then start lightening them up. And I don't really like them when I paint the lilacs with the roses. I don't really like them to get too white because then they can overtake the roses. And that's a Dutch philosophy when you go study flower composition and painting and coloring and stuff. The Dutch masters of the golden age, the 16th, 17th century, they had a lot of rules for that. And that's when I studied that painting, that's one of the things that I learned. So anyway, it's a lot of fun, and it took 45 minutes with a little talking and stuff. It was okay. So there you go, Judy. This is just a casual way to put this together. Thanks very much for making the comment and asking that. And we'll do that. If there's something that you want to see me do and everything, just make sure you hit those comments down there, okay? Make sure you hit those like buttons. And like I told you with the last one, when we did that big landscape and stuff like that, I have the portrait over there. We're just editing that video now. There's a lot to it because there's a lot of mixes and understanding the colors and stuff like that that go with the portrait and stuff. We're going to do a little bit of portraits and some more landscapes. I got another and a big seascape coming, so a lot of fun things. But if you want to see something, guys, put it into the comments, okay? And we try to go through those. I still have a lot more to go through, but we try to go through those. But please hit like, please hit share, please help us promote the channel and stuff. So especially during the summer, fall, everyone gets really busy, and it gets hard for us to help promote the channel. And we really want to be able to take the times to get some more structured lessons in what we're doing and putting that all together for you, so we can get a whole big group together that's painting through, and we learn some of these artistic concepts. That's our goal. That's what we want to do here. We want to build this big art channel that shows you how to paint everything from animals. Gotta remember, when you're looking at the camera, everything's reversed. Animals to portraits to landscapes to florals to impressionism, scrolls, rose mulling, all kinds of fun. Okay, there you go. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you later.